This is the 24th installment of Ear to the Ground, the Land Stewardship Project's audio magazine podcast. Ear to the Ground features interviews and field reports related to sustainable agriculture, family farming, local food systems, and local democracy. I'm your host, Brian DeVore, editor of the Land Stewardship Letter. What happens when a farm tries to diversify out of just raising one or two row crops into a system that utilizes perennial plants such as grass, hay forage, and trees? Well, there's no doubt that the environment improves. Studies and anecdotal evidence shows that getting more plant cover on the land year-round cuts soil erosion, improves water quality, and provides wildlife habitat. But the economic impacts on a farm can be a whole different ballgame. The federal government pays farmers to produce a handful of commodities such as corn and soybeans. When producers try to diversify, they lose government payments. This can be a major disincentive for transitioning into sustainable systems. That's why the Conservation Security Program is such a significant shift in farm policy. Called CSP for short, this initiative rewards farmers for putting in place diverse production systems that improve the environment. Created by the 2002 Farm Bill, CSP has never really gotten completely off the ground, due to funding cuts and the USDA's reluctance to fully support it. However, in the few short years that it has been implemented, the program has already provided critical economic and moral support for farmers who are practicing good stewardship and showing real results. Greg and Kathy Cater are two of those farmers. The Northeast Iowa couple produces beef, lamb, and goats on some 700 acres of very steep Northeast Iowa land. They do it all on a grass using managed rotational grazing. The Caters transitioned out of row crops in the 1980s and were immediately penalized for not raising program crops like corn. However, they continued to work toward a grass-based system because they felt it was the right thing to do environmentally and economically. During the spring of 2006, the Cater family qualified for Tier 3 of the Conservation Security Program. That's the highest level of CSP qualification, and it marks a significant change in how the government views their operation. Instead of being penalized for not raising row crops on a highly erosive land, the Caters are being rewarded for building the soil with grass and other perennials. The family recently hosted a field day to demonstrate their organic grazing system and to discuss the Conservation Security Program. Afterwards, Greg took some time out to talk with me about their operation and what they are doing to make it sustainable for the land and their family. He also talked about what CSP means for farmers who have often felt like second-class citizens when it comes to USDA programs. Greg, could you give us a little bit of background on your farm here? You were a row crop operation for many years, and then was it 20 years or so ago you started converting to grazing? And describe maybe why you did that and what also how that was a little bit frustrating, because when you do that you give up the commodity payments, and that can be, it's not just a matter of converting from one system to another. It was you lost some income because of that.
Yeah, I've been farming here. I guess I've been on the ground for 54 years here, but farmed with my folks and then started on my own in '76 and farmed pretty conventionally. A lot of heavy chemical use. We did rotate crops and that sort of thing, but used a lot of chemicals. And then, my mother and father, who had gone through some of the post-World War II chemical usage, realized what it was doing to their health and our health and the environment, and put some pressure on me to change. And through an opportunity with Land Stewardship Project, we took a holistic resource management course in St. Charles, Minnesota, and really changed our outlook in our entire operation, and basically quit growing row crop in '83 and haven't done any tillage of any sort since 1985, and quit using chemicals in 1985. It did, of course, we had a crop-based build-up at that point in time, and I'm not just sure what the formula is, but as you don't grow any crop every year when you certify, they whittle your base, and over the course of 8 to 10 years, our base had been whittled to just about zero. So our crop subsidy payments were less than $1,200 a year for considerably over 500 acres. And now, of course, with CSP and our acceptance into Tier 3 of that program, we're going to be looking at $25,000 plus on an annual basis. So that's quite a change.
Yeah. And can you just describe some of the things that when you applied to the CSP program, what they liked about Tier 3 is the highest tier you can get into, so it's a very good sign of what you're doing on the farm. But what was it that they particularly liked about what some of the things you were doing?
Well, with our grazing program, of course, is the basis for our getting to Tier 3, but then the enhancements, some of the wildlife benefits, the erosion benefits, our field windbreaks, some of our settling ponds, our ponds in general, how we treat our ponds, keep cattle out of the ponds, the canopied forests that aren't grazed, all that water line and the grazing animal impact that's reduced by not having cattle walking for water. All those sort of things are even to our well locations and fuel storage and the amount of fuel that we use and everything that we've been doing just basically on our own and to cut costs and to improve the environment was just a real natural fit for CSP. It was real easy for us. I'm a little disappointed that some of the organic farmers in this watershed that put some crop in and stir the soil didn't make it in, and I think some of those changes need to be made at some point in time. But for us, it was a natural.
And can you give a little back? This area here is in northeast Iowa, and it's got that karst geology, which can be very, very vulnerable as far as groundwater and contamination. And then your land looks like a fair bit of it probably qualifies for being highly erodible. Can you just give a little background? This kind of has a history of having some erosion problems and some environmental problems in this area.
Yes, we've got karst topography, a lot of Dubuque soils, some Fayette soils, and of course our very best would be Downs and a few Tama soils. But anytime you get into Fayette and Dubuque soils, you're talking a matter of maybe 2 or even less feet of soil. That's topsoil and subsoil before you hit limestone rock. And the limestone rock, despite what most people think, is just a sieve. There's no filtration. There's no water retention. Once that water soaks through that little bit of topsoil, it's right in the water supply. And then to top that off, we've got the sinkholes, which are sort of a direct conduit from surface water right to our water supply. So those factors combine to make this a fragile area for cropping and for people's health, livestock health. And we've just through making the changes that we had over the years, we feel we really contributed to overall water quality and environmental quality in the area. We had some discussion about a watershed section of our land that lays in the Snai-McGill watershed towards the top of the watershed, but it catches a lot of conventionally cropped ground runoff that runs down through that. And not too long before we acquired this ground, it was open ditch, and through proper grazing and proper management, we've healed the ditch, and we've built the organic matter of the soils on this location and quite a few other locations on our farm from less than 1 or 1.5% organic matter to, in some cases, over 5%. And we feel that through that building of organic matter and forage that we're able to maintain in those waterways, we slow that water up enough that we actually filter. We take sediment out of the water as well as the farm chemical that's in that sediment and in the water. And at one time, we think that most of that sediment and chemical passed right on through our farm into Snai-McGill, which is a clean water trout stream. And now at this point in time, we're doing a real good job of filtering that water and putting clean water out of our farm. We have some concerns about where that chemical's ending up in our farm and what its overall impact is going to be in our organic production here. But we feel that the location of our ground in this situation and the production methods that we're using, the rotational grazing, has a huge positive impact on the environment. And I guess we feel that justifies our getting our CSP payment.
Sounds like you feel pretty good about how you're treating the land.
Well, you hate to toot your own horn, but as they say, the check's in the mail. So I guess that's proof. But it's really nice to be rewarded for something that you felt was right all along and have been doing it all along, and get some acknowledgement for it. We own 500 plus grazing acres, and then with what we rent, we probably manage another 238 grazing acres, so 700 plus acres. We do custom heifer development for other people, and those numbers will run anywhere from 300 to 500 head per year. And then we own a stock cow herd of our own of about 70 head, and we run some yearlings, maybe 100 to 150 head, sometimes a little more than that, and then these 200 ewes, sheep, and then my boy raises some goats, and I've got just a handful of goats, meat goats, and then he does some chicken broilers in the chicken tractor system. My oldest boy married and has a little boy coming 2 years old, graduate of Utah State Animal Science Program, and my second son, a graduate of U of I Business and Economics, and my daughter's 16 in high school, going to be a junior this year, and they're all real interested in what we're doing here at the farm, and big participants and big proponents of what we're doing, so it kind of makes it all worthwhile if you can look back at that.
It's one thing to take care of the land, but to know that maybe it'll be taken care of in the future must be very very satisfying.
Yeah. The way of life, we may work hard and may not have huge incomes, but you can't beat the lifestyle, and things continue in the right path. Why it's great to to realize that I'm the third generation here, and there could be the fourth and fifth, and that they could do it all while building the farm, building the soil, and not degrading the environment.
For more on the Conservation Security Program, see www.landstewardshipproject.org/programs_CSP.html. That's www.landstewardshipproject.org/programs_CSP.html. There you'll find fact sheets and articles about CSP. You can read more about farmers who have qualified for CSP in our July, August, September 2005 issue of the Land Stewardship Letter. To download a PDF version of the article, go to our CSP page and scroll down to Conservation Security Program News. For more on how the Land Stewardship Project is working to strengthen CSP in the 2007 Farm Bill, call 612-722-6377. That's 612-722-6377. Send your comments and suggestions about this podcast to me, Brian DeVore, at bdevore@landstewardshipproject.org. You can also call me at 612-729-6294. A special thank you goes out to Laura Borgendale, a Western Minnesota musician who provided Ear to the Ground's theme music. And a very special thank you to all of Land Stewardship Project's members who make initiatives such as this podcast possible. If you're not a member and would like to support us, go to landstewardshipproject.org to learn how to join LSP. Thanks for listening.